Themes and ideas of the Dark Souls trilogy. I don't need to explain to you that the Dark Souls trilogy is both extremely difficult and popular. From 2012 to 2016, FromSoft developed 3 Dark Souls games with Hideki Miyazaki leading the operation as the lead game designer and director of the series. When examining these games, their extreme difficulty, level design, and mysterious story and lore are often at the forefront of conversation. An extremely underrepresented aspect of their prosperity would have to be their ideology, mythology, and themes of the series. At the center point of all this would be a simple idea that focuses on both the importance and strength of these concepts, duality. Duality is seen through the mechanics and story of the series, but is most prominently featured in boss fights, game design, ideas, and text throughout the game. Duality can be seen in this game as a struggle between the curse of fire, the dark sign, kindling a flame, or letting the world succumb to darkness. While these terms and concepts may be confusing to those who haven't played the game, I'll elaborate. From the first game, we learned that humanity at its core draws its strength from darkness, the void. There are several things to take away from this fact. Is humanity evil at their core? Is human nature vain and greedy? Is darkness even something to be afraid of? These ideas are up to the player to interpret. Miyazaki took careful note of this detail. Humans are dark, but the gods and light drove them to fire and repress their dark side in favor of society and growth. This can't last, however. Fire fades, light dims, everything inevitably fades to dark once again. The battle between fire and death is a constant threat that looms through every story in each of the Dark Souls games. At the end of every game, the player is given a choice, a very important decision, whether or not to kindle the flame and continue a legacy set by the gods, keeping the Age of Fire going and push the darkness away for just a little longer. The game has a very interesting way of showing the player the effects of darkness and how it changes what we think of as humans. While darkness might be our true nature of a soul, how the game shows this is borderline disturbing. Blighttown and New Orlando ruins are 2 locations that show how the devastating effects of the void can affect humans and the society they built. Societal constructs that we built fade as all humans in this area fade into the beasts. The unnatural alternative to this would be light, fire, and gods found and bestowed upon man. Anne Orlando is the city of the gods, which is the epitome of all that is good and light in this world. It's fake. The city, the gods, even the sun coming from the sky, it's all an illusion set by the son of Gwyn, the strongest and head god. In this series, Gwendolyn, the son of Gwyn, has been taken by his dying father to create this illusion of the city and help the people think that everything is fine. This is where the first game begins. At the beginning of Dark Souls 1, the world is already fading into darkness, on the cusp of failure. Canonically, at the end of the first 2 games, the character choice that you are given with ends in a good ending. You burn up, kindle the flame, keep the Age of Fire going. Even though this is a player decision, it's interesting to note that Miyazaki chose to have the end of each game canonically be the good ending. This means that the beginning of 2 and 3 follow in the steps of 1 and 2 in the sense that they have a good ending. If the world were to fall to darkness after the end of the first 2 games, there wouldn't be much of a world left to play in the second and third games, unfortunately. The conflict between light and dark is really the most interesting part of the series, as it's what our character centrally focuses on and battles against or with. But why? Why is there a battle? Why is there conflict? Why is there uneasiness? Why is there a duality to our nature? Is the real question that gets asked. But you can see this because the duality comes from loss. Before the first fire, before men, before gods, there was nothing in this world. It was merely gray, tall trees, gray cracks in the ground, nothing. Allegedly, immoral dragons took up this land at this time. However, everything changed with the first flame. We are unaware of where it came from, but this caused disparity Instead of being a constant gray, there is now two forms, light and dark. Those who had the light and those who suffered without it. This duality is where I can see a major connection to many aspects in life, including the American culture and American ideals. Left versus right, north versus south, vegetarian versus carnivore. This world, especially in America, is in a state of duality constantly. Common threads throughout history, and these messages are very obvious after playing the game. However, it's not at first glance. First you see the game, you see a medieval Japanese story, but it takes a turn. The powers of dark and light are very applicable to real-world situations. Whether or not this was intentional by the author has no bearing on its true merit in the story. The idea of duality has taught me many things throughout this game. First and foremost, that duality in America is something to take note of. There are the haves and the have-nots. There's a great disparity among wealth and power in this nation. Whether or not that was intentional for me to learn from a video game is regardless of the fact.